Hey, it's Nate Webb, local attorney here in Seattle, and wanted to go over what to do when stopped by an officer, whether it be for ultimately a DUI or just a traffic stop in general, anything. When you're stopped by an officer, obviously our heart's pounding and we're quite nervous because this probably doesn't happen to us every day, although they stop people every day. But let's talk about in the context of a DUI. So if you're stopped, one of the first things an officer may do is ask you for your license and registration. They'll probably approach you on the passenger side of the vehicle because you're likely on a highway or something, and that's for officer safety. So when you're stopped, they'll ask you, where are you coming from? You'll likely answer them. How much have you had to drink? If they smell alcohol, I smell alcohol. Who were you with? When was your last drink? All those things that you answer in that context right there will be used against you. Okay, so you don't have a Fifth Amendment right to remain silent in that context because you're not haven't been arrested, and so that constitutional right doesn't apply. So Miranda versus Arizona is the proverbial case law on that, where you have to be informed if they're going to engage in custodial interrogation. So meaning that once you're in custody, if they're going to interrogate you and ask for answer questions, that they would have to Mirandize you. That's just reading your rights, right? So everyone see that on TV. But in this context where you're stopped, Miranda does not apply, and so a lot of people are under the false impression that I told them I had a couple of drinks or whatever, but they didn't read me my rights. Well, it's irrelevant. Okay, so anything that you say is going to be used against you. So if it's a speeding situation, for example, officer, I was just trying to get to my son's soccer game or whatever. You're admitting it right there. Okay, so you're not under arrest. What you're saying right there can definitely be used against you. So you're admitting that you committed the offense or the traffic offense of speeding or running a stop sign or whatever the case may be. So the best thing to do is not to talk to cops at all. And so and I've even had this conversation with good friends of mine who are DUI officers, and they would say, I would tell someone to just keep their mouth shut and provide the documents they have to provide, which is your license, registration, proof of insurance, but don't say a word. Okay, you're not obligated whatsoever to answer any questions at any point. Okay, whether that be prior to arrest or not. So I've never really seen many people do this, but the best scenario would be if you were stopped and you knew you had been drinking and you don't want to submit to any tests, just provide the documentation. If they ask you where you've been coming from, just don't answer. Don't say anything. Okay, they'll be a little bit vexed, I'm sure. Just don't say anything. If they ask you to step out, step out. Ask you to participate in field sobriety test, just don't say anything. Okay, and let them make a decision. They have to have, at that point, what we call probable cause. It's not proof beyond a reasonable doubt like you would have at a jury trial. Okay, but it's probable cause. So it's a low burden. So a lot of times probable cause in a DUI context would consist of slurred speech or bloodshot, watery eyes, poor balance, things of that, odor of alcohol, obviously. But the less that you speak, they're not going to have slurred speech. If you're not really going to participate in field sobriety tests, they're not going to have any of those. And I'll talk about that in another video about field sobriety tests. But it's just best not to do those, especially if you've had anything to drink. I mean, I've seen officers who take the position that if someone's just had even one drink, they're going to make an arrest anyway. And so it's not in your interest to take any of those field sobriety tests, specifically the portable breath test. And so if they do arrest you, then just cooperate, be nice, just like Patrick Swayze said in Roadhouse, be nice, okay? Just be nice, and go back with them to the station. At the station, if again they're processing you for what they're alleging to be a DUI, although you shouldn't have provided them any field sobriety test or portable breath test, again, don't answer any questions. They may say, hey, I'm just trying to get some information from you. I'm not going to answer any questions. That's it, period. Okay. Then they may read through with you what's called the implied consent warnings for breath. And so these are the warnings that tell you that if you don't participate in a breath test, that your license will have some impact. So if you refuse to take a breath test in Washington State anyway, your license will be suspended for 1 year. And if you do take one and it's over the .08 limit and you're over 21, it's going to be for 90 days. But you don't have to, you don't have to have a discussion with them. You can just read it over. Again, you don't have to answer anything. They are obligated, though, to read it to you. So they read it to you. You don't have to sign the document if you don't want to. But if they ask you to take the test, it's advisable to take the test. But here's the kicker that a lot of people don't do, is that on that form it tells you have the right to independent testing of your own choosing. And so the only time you want to talk to the officer is after you do the breath test. Say, now I want my own independent blood test. That's it. Okay? Because then they have to make arrangements for you to get your own independent blood test so that your defense attorney could have some other source to utilize in your defense down the road, should it come to that point. And so don't talk to police officers, period, ever. I watch too many crime shows where everyone goes in for an interview, especially the spouse of the person who's alleged to have murdered the other person. They're always going for the interview. Don't ever, 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 under no circumstances, do an interview like that. Never. Okay, there's just nothing that good will come of it. Absolutely zero. Okay, oh, I didn't do it, I just want to help them. Nope, never, never, never. There's never an excuse to do an interview, ever. Period. Okay, so don't ever, ever talk to cops. Okay, the only time you'd ever do it is if you had sat down with your attorney and then maybe you guys were going to do it together or what have you. But never, never, never on your own. How many times did I say never? Okay, ever. Okay. So it's same thing for the side of the road. When you get pulled over, don't admit to drinking. Don't tell them how much you had. Don't tell them where you're coming from. Don't be rude about it. You don't say, hey, I don't have to tell you where I'm coming. Just don't say anything, okay? Rarely do I see anyone do that. And I've represented lawyers and judges and FBI agents and all kinds of people, and so they all talk, okay? But be the person who doesn't, okay? Especially if you've had a couple, which is not against the law. I'm not condoning drinking and driving, but it's not against the law yet in Washington State to have a couple of drinks and then drive down the road. If they make it 0-0, then it is against the law. But at this point, as we speak in 2026, it still is not illegal. The per se limit is 0.08, okay? And so anything over that, then you're subject to penalties. So again, just to recap, don't ever, 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 never talk to cops. Never. Okay, the only exception would be is if you had taken that breath test again. You ask for your own independent blood draw, and that's it. That's the only time you're going to be speaking. Cool. Unless you want to talk to an attorney, which you can do at the station. You can ask for an attorney, and then go talk to the attorney, and then have the attorney tell them, they're not going to answer any more questions or what have you. So you can certainly ask for an attorney. They're going to probably put you in touch with a public defender. Most arrests are made late at night, and your personal attorney is probably asleep. So it's perfectly fine to talk to a public defender. In that context, there's numerous well-seasoned, very good public defenders who know what they're doing and can give you proper advice. And so, again, just don't ever speak to them. Again, when you have not been arrested, anything you say can and will be used against you. If you have further questions about that or any other criminal offense situations, feel free to just reach out here in the comments, or I'll leave my contact information below, and I'm happy to help you out, and we can talk about your particular case. All right, take care.